Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest is a cast member on Saturday Night Live. Let's take a look at her as Martha Stewart.
Today we're taking a field trip to my friend Tom Hardwick's Christmas tree farm in the Hudson River Valley. Oh, look, there's a good one. So join me and my special guest, the Westport Boys Choir, for my Christmas special, Home for the Holidays. Even if you celebrate Chanukah, it'll be a jolly good thing.
Something like a topless Martha Stewart impression. Please welcome Anna Gasteyer. There's nothing I enjoy more than a topless Martha Stewart impression.
Thank you. It's a very, very big honor to do it, actually. It's actually one of those really embarrassing things. I was just watching it because it's one of those things where you're writing something and you have it in your mind, you know, like, oh, ha, ha, we'll have the Harlem Boys Choir, ha, ha, and they're chuckling, and then you get there and you realize they're going to be like 12, 8-year-old boys staring at you topless and giggling.
You're really topless? I just assumed that you had, like, wearing a bikini top or something.
Actually, it was kind of worse because I had a nude bandeau, but they had to follow my, for the graph. Sorry.
Can we say that word? I just got that.
Sorry about it.
Okay, I don't know.
But they had to follow it to a little graphic bar, so I had to have 2 huge pieces of black gaffer tape on each nipple. So all day long, I'm just marching around with these big tape boobies.
Boobies. You finally hit the word you can say. And don't say nipples, say booby points.
Oh, sorry about that.
There are rules here.
Target places, right.
Yeah. Or the booby hat. I was, of course, as I always do with all my guests, reading up about you before I come here, and I hit on this amazing fact, which is that you grew up, I think it's in Rolling Stone interview, you grew up and were friends with Amy Carter while Jimmy Carter was president.
Yeah, it was
How did that happen?
Weird Washington kid things. I grew up, I was in an after-school program, and we were both kind of dorky kids who wore glasses and read a lot of Harriet the Spy and played violin, so we became...
You just described me in elementary school.
So we would have bonded. You could have been a president's son. Right.
So you, I mean, how good a friend were you?
We were pretty close, actually. It was odd. I went to the White House quite a few times, and the weirdest thing about my experience with her was that one weekend they called me up, the White House called up and said, would Anna like to come to Camp David for the weekend? And, you know, my family had like a little earthy cabin in Virginia, so I sort of thought that's what we were going to be doing or whatever. So I go to Camp David for the weekend, and Mrs. Carter, I brought my violin because I was a geek, and Mrs. Carter and Amy played. Mrs. Carter asked us to prepare a little duet, whatever, so we, practiced our little minuet in G or whatever duet. And they call us into this room with the president and these 2 other guys. There's a guy there in a turban and this other guy, and we're playing, and, I go home, leave, go home, have a great weekend, all this stuff. And Monday morning, the phone starts ringing, and now I sort of realized what it was, but it was the first Camp David Accord. And we had actually played for Menachem Begin, Anwar Sadat, and Jimmy Carter, and that was like the only thing they reported because they were, covering their bases for the first reporting. And the best part of the whole thing is that on that Saturday night that I was there, Mrs. Carter had come in and said, girls, brush your hair, the Sadats are coming over to watch Star Wars. So it's really like one of those weird things about my life that I watched Star Wars for the first time with Anwar and Mrs. Sadat. It's so odd.
Didn't they have, what does this have to do with world peace?
Well, yeah, exactly. And me like, I'll sign.
Anything, I'll sign it, I don't care.
Get that child out of here.
You live, it's interesting to me that you live in Los Angeles. You work here on the show, which is in New York.
Yeah.
But you live in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Do you like L.A. that much that you want to live there?
I lived there before I got the show. My husband's still there, so we're sort of doing the bi-coastal thing. But L.A.'s like one of those really, it's a really weird city because the strangest stuff happens to you when you're, when you're living there. We have a dog. We actually have 2 dogs. But when my dog was 4 months old, we left him in my husband's grandmother's backyard because we were at a wedding. And we came back at like 2 in the morning, no dog, freak out, lose our minds, sobbing, crying, don't sleep for like 3 days, fighting, blaming each other for losing the dog, keening and all this stuff. And whatever, we put up all signs and checked the pound, no dog, no dog, no dog. The 3rd day, we get this message on the machine. It's this nice woman, like, we found your dog and please come to our house. And she gives us the address. I call back to make sure that it's my dog, and this really earthy, gravelly voice answers, hello. And I said, hi, I think you found our dog. Wow, you're really breaking our hearts. So we get in the car, we go to find out who this person is, and it has our dog. And my husband recognizes nobody famous ever. Like, literally, you can see Sylvester Stallone and be like, Sylvester Stallone. what was he in again? You know, like just completely.
Right.
Never knows who anybody is. But so we open the door, and there's Henry, and I'm screaming, it's Henry, it's Henry, it's Henry, and he's just screaming behind me, it's Hutch, it's Hutch, it's Hutch. And it was David Soul.
No, David Soul?
Yeah, the only show my husband ever watched growing up was Starsky and Hutch.
Hutch found your dog?
Freaking out, yeah.
Oh, that's
so
great.
Hutch found him. So we took a fruit basket to him the next day, mostly because my husband wanted to make sure it was David Soul, not because, you know, he found
was
the dog.
there with Huggy Bear.
Yeah, no, he was the door was ajar, and he was alone with a wine bottle and a little glass of Chablis, singing Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered
It's
to
getting
himself.
too sad now. I don't want to know. So that's what he's been doing.
But he saved my life, and he saved my dog. So
well, I got to mention this. We're out of time, but this week, Saturday Night Live remembers Chris Farley. That's going to be a very cool show.
Yeah.
People should tune in for that. And February 28th, the host and musical guest, Garth Brooks. With special guest Robert Duvall. That'll be a cool show. Thank you so much for coming. You got to come back when you have a little more time. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
On a Gasteyer, everybody, we'll take a break. We're right back with Alana Davis.